and welcome to ENI UK and Europe edition. I'm Ryan Florentino reporting from London. We bring you news reports from the United Kingdom and Europe, and we have live reporters on standby ready to give their reports. In our UK and Europe news roundup, UK will do more to sanction Russia, says UK Foreign Secretary Truss. Queen Elizabeth II donates for Ukraine refugees. And 1 million refugees in the first week of war. After that, EBC Belgium. With the current COVID-19 restrictions, we have a live report from our correspondent there, Victoria. Hello, Victoria.
Hello, Ryan. I'll be reporting the current COVID restrictions here in Belgium. Back to you.
Thank you so much. And from EBC Italy, we have a report from our correspondent there, Jasmine Jamora, regarding the Bottega di Tokyo, which is the exhibition in Milan. Stay tuned for that one. And for our sports, first up in sports, we have Roman Abramovich to sell Chelsea, with net proceeds going to Ukraine war victims. After that, sports, we have Middlesbrough shocking Spurs to progress into the FA Cup quarterfinals. This is a report from Keith Dimabuyu. And finally, from our view from our window, we have the Royal Palace Madrid, which we'll be seeing later on. Now, first up for our news, Britain on a Thursday announced new sanctions preventing Russian companies in the aviation and space industry from accessing British insurance and reinsurance services following the invasion of Ukraine. Russian companies in the aviation or space industry will be prevented from making use of UK-based insurance or reinsurance services directly or indirectly in response to the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the Treasury Office said in a statement. British Secretary Liz Truss has details on recent moves. Let's have a listen.
We are absolutely determined to sanction Russian oligarchs. We've already sanctioned over 100 individuals and organisations. We've got a further list we are working through. We have put in place the toughest package of sanctions in British history on Russia, including bank freezes, including freezes on the central bank, including export controls, and we will do more.
London is one of the world's leading insurance markets, and in cutting off access to Russian companies, the UK is demonstrating its commitment to apply severe economic sanctions, the statement said. Coupled with similar actions by the EU, this move further isolates Russia's economy from the international finance system, since Russia's President Vladimir Putin ordered his troops into Ukraine last week. Western governments have ramped up sanctions against Russian businesses, banks, and billionaires. In the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been criticized for not going further in imposing assets freezes on London-based Russian billionaires. UK officials stressed that legally robust mechanisms needed to be put in place first, but promised more announcements in the days and weeks to come. Queen Elizabeth II has donated to an appeal for funds to help Ukrainian refugees, an alliance of leading UK aid charities said Thursday. The Disasters Emergency Committee, or BEC, thanked the Queen for making a generous donation to its Ukraine humanitarian appeal. The appeal is to raise funds to help Ukrainians fleeing the conflict sparked by Russia's invasion. The charities and their local partners are providing food, water, shelter, and medical assistance. The appeal will see the UK government match up to £20 million in donations. ITV royal correspondent Chris Shipp wrote on Twitter that the Queen's donation came from her private income. She resumed public engagements on Tuesday after falling ill with COVID. She donated to help Ukrainians after her eldest son and heir Prince Charles this week condemned Russia's invasion as an attack on democracy, on an open society, on freedom itself. Zelensky tweeted in reply that he was grateful that they stand by our country and support our brave citizens. William's younger brother, Prince Harry, and his wife Meghan, last Friday wrote on the website of their charitable organization, Archewell, that we stand with the people of Ukraine, calling Russia's invasion a breach of international and humanitarian law. As the conflict between Ukraine and Russia continues to heighten, more and more refugees have fled Ukraine. According to data from the UNHCR agency, 1,450,000 people have now fled the country since Russian President Vladimir Putin launched the full-scale invasion on February 24. The United Nations cautioned that unless the onslaught ended immediately, millions more will likely flee. In just 7 days, we have witnessed the exodus of 1 million refugees from Ukraine to neighboring countries, UN Refugee Chief Filippo Grandi tweeted. Unless there is an immediate end to the conflict, millions more are likely to be forced to flee Ukraine, he warned. Grandi of UNHCR stressed that in his 40 years of working in refugee emergencies, rarely has he seen an exodus as rapid as this one. He hailed the remarkable response of governments and local communities in surrounding countries who have accommodated the refugees. They have crossed the borders of neighboring countries such as Poland, with more than 600,000 people in total who have already crossed the frontier, according to Poland's border guards. Hungary, Moldova, Slovakia, and Romania have also welcomed tens of thousands of refugees, while countless of people have also been displaced inside Ukraine. The UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, said that half of those who had left Ukraine were children. They mentioned setting up safe spaces for children and mothers to access services along transit routes. Concerns were raised, however, as reports surfaced that non-Ukrainian refugees are facing discrimination while crossing the border. I commend the welcome that Ukrainians leaving the country have received. This welcome must be extended to all those fleeing conflict, regardless of their citizenship, ethnicity, migration, or other status, UN Human Rights Chief Michel Bachelet told the UN Human Rights Council. They have been disturbing indications of discrimination against African and Asian nationals while fleeing, she added. The International Organization of Migration leader Antonio Vitorino also voiced strong concerns, saying fleeing foreign workers and students were facing heightened risk and suffering. I am alarmed about verified, credible reports of discrimination, violence, and xenophobia against third world nationals attempting to flee the conflict in Ukraine. Discrimination on the basis of race, ethnicity, nationality, or migration status is unacceptable. I deplore any such acts and call on states to investigate this issue and address it immediately, the IOM chief said in a statement. The Human Rights Council's African nations were also disturbed by reports of Africans being denied the rights to cross the border to safety. Everyone has the right to cross international borders during a conflict, Ivory Coast representative said on behalf of the group. Show the same empathy and support for all people fleeing war, regardless of their racial identity, he urged. With Russian forces closing in on major cities, the UN's aid chief foresees more displacements and the number of refugees mounting very quickly by the hour. Time for a break, but please come back for more ENI, UK, and Europe edition.
Mr. Bawal, may ibis ka, oh. Asan? It's a prank! Okay lang manakot. Pero kung mananakot ka para sa boto, bawal yan!
Ayon sa Omnibus Election Code, threats, intimidation, terrorism, use of fraudulent device or other forms of coercion is an election offense.
Sino kausap mo? Makaalis na nga, sa iba na lang ako mananakot. Mr. Pwede! Mr. Pwede! May malaking ibis sa likod mo! Nox! Babawi ka pa, ha? Di mo ako maiisahan! Ako si Mr. Bawal na nagpapaalala sa inyo na ang pananakot para sa boto. Ibis! Uy! Bawal yan!
Welcome to Mobile Legends!
Welcome back to ENI UK and Europe Edition. I'm Ryan Florentino with interesting stories from around Europe this week. Let us now hear the latest on anti-COVID-19 measures in Belgium. Victoria Lopez is with us today. Hello, Victoria.
Hello again, Ryan. Thank you so much for having me. With the peak of the Omicron variant wave that has passed and the confirmation of the decline of the coronavirus circulation in Belgium, the Consultative Committee decided to switch from code red to orange on the coronavirus barometer mid-February. Today, the next meeting of the Belgium's Consultative Committee will take place, in which they will decide whether to possibly switch to code yellow on the barometer. For now, the following measures are still in force. For the hospitality sector, the fixed closing time has been disregarded. The restriction on the number of people is no longer in effect. Face masks will only be mandatory for the staff. All kinds of indoor and outdoor events are now allowed. However, the COVID safety kits will still be required for indoor activities with more than 50 participants and outdoor activities with over 100 participants. When it comes to the outdoor leisure activities, there will no longer be a maximum capacity. Nonetheless, for indoor activities, there is a maximum capacity of 200 people. This does not apply to sport events. Teleworking is not obliged anymore, but it is still recommended if possible. There will not be any regulations anymore when it comes to shopping, nor will there be a specific closing time. Only those from the age of 12 will have to wear face masks. Lastly, travelers coming to Belgium do not have to take into consideration the color code of the country they're traveling from, but they must have a valid vaccination test or recovery certificates with them, though the rules for high-risk zones continue to apply. However, the Belgian government reminds everyone to stay vigilant, encouraging them to get their booster shot as the number of infections continues to decline with less than 6,400 new cases a day. Back to you, Ryan.
Thanks, Victoria. So, can I also ask, can you elaborate on the plan to maximize the booster vaccination in Belgium?
Belgian Prime Minister De Croo wants to accelerate the booster vaccination campaign in Flanders. For that reason, they came up with a plan to increase the capacity of the vaccination centers. In addition to that, they are examining whether it would be possible to shorten the time intervals before the shot. He further explains that Belgium is ought to maintain the lead in being one of the 5 countries who operates the most booster shots. Back to you, Ryan.
Thank you again for bringing us the latest on Belgium today, Victoria.
Reporting from Belgium, I am Victoria Elenita Lopez For Eagle News International, and we live in interesting times.
Now, an art exhibition in Milan, Italy, takes us to Tokyo, Japan. Jasmine Jamora has the report. Let's watch.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Bottega di Tokyo in Milan. Let's check it out. Let's take a walk through the oldest and most wonderful shops in the Japanese capital. But before that, grab your passport and ticket. An immersive exhibition inspired by the marvelous illustrations of Mateusz Urbanowicz is located in Milan's Navigli district. The experience will offer visitors the chance to explore a selection of traditional storefronts from the Japanese capital. Strolling through the Tokyo workshops while remaining in Milan will therefore be possible, and you will be able to experience the atmosphere of the Japanese capital through large panels illustrated by the artists in watercolor. Visitors will be able to browse among ancient shops, the history and culture of the town, all surrounded by design objects, products, projections, scents, sounds, and color for sale in the store. Iconic shops, old and new, tell a story of everyday life in the streets and neighborhoods of Tokyo. The colored storefronts bless the city with a particular hue unique to the country's capital. Tokyo boutiques are known to conceal something very special. Inspiration can be found in the most unassuming street corners, alleyways, and neighborhoods. Exploring Tokyo's streets for the first time will surprise you with a feeling of familiarity. Japanese films, cartoons, and comics have long allowed a sneak preview into this busy city, which never ceases to inspire. Now you can see our interpretation in the heart of Milan, Italy. Have you ever been in Tokyo? Would you like to take a walk on the Japanese side in Milan? Come and discover Japan at Bottega di Tokyo, the exhibition. I have visited Tokyo while being in Italy. Amazing, right? I hope you enjoy this little tour of Japan. From Milan, Italy, I am Jasmine Jamora for EBC Italy Bureau, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you for taking us there, Jasmine. Now, time for another break, but please come back for more ENI UK and Europe edition.
To aspiring fashion designers, starting a clothing brand is a dream come true. They have the ideas, the talent, and most importantly, the passion for fashion. But what does it really take to start a fashion brand? Anong kailangan gawin lalo na ngayon at bumabangon pa lamang ang fashion retail industry sa gitna ng pandemya? We will tackle these questions with one of the world-class and homegrown women's fashion brands in the Philippines. Join us as the President and CEO of Camiseta Group of Companies, Ms. Chris Roque, discusses how to start a fashion brand in this episode of Open for Business.
I feel that all of us in general must live our best life, meaning we should put our best. Let's push ourselves to the limit or how far we want to go so that we live a life of no regrets.
Ito na naman puso'y naguguluhan. Hi guys! Ako nga pala si Christopher Fidera at abangan niyo po ako bilang guest performer sa Letters and Music ngayong darating na linggo na, March 6, 1 to 2 p.m. At syempre, dito lang sa Net 25. See ya!
Babe. Naintindihan mo ba, babe?
Hindi ko talaga narinig eh. Baka pwedeng pakiulat itong data.
Itong game natin, kailangan mabutas ang plastic sa pamamagitan ng inyong mga mukha.
Welcome back to ENI UK and Europe edition. I'm Ryan Florentino with more interesting stories from around the UK and Europe this week. Now, let's move on to sports. In sports, Chelsea's Russian owner, Roman Abramovich, said on Wednesday he had made the incredibly difficult decision to sell the Premier League club, pledging that proceeds would go to the victims of the war in Ukraine. The billionaire believes it is the best interest of the Champions League holders if he parts ways with the club he has transformed since he has bought it in 2003. The dramatic development comes days after Abramovich said he was handing over control of Chelsea to trustees of its charitable foundation following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It is a seismic moment for English football after nearly 2 decades, during which Abramovich's team have consistently challenged for the sport's top honors. Chelsea have won 19 major trophies in the Abramovich era, including their first two Champions League crowns and 5 Premier League titles. But the 55-year-old's reign will come to an end in the fallout from Russia's invasion of its neighbors. Abramovich, alleged to have close links to Russian President Vladimir Putin, has not been named on a growing British sanctions list targeting Russian banks, businesses, and pro-Kremlin tycoons. But the Chelsea's owner's concern about potential seizing of assets is understood to have sparked his move to offload the Blues. Swiss billionaire Hans-Jörg Wyss and US investor Todd Boehly, a co-owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers baseball team, are reported to be 2 of the parties now preparing a joint bid for the Premier League giants. It is believed Abramovich's asking price for Chelsea will be around £3 billion or $4 billion. Next up, we have Keith Dimabuyu bringing us his sports report with the latest in football. Let's have a look.
Middlesbrough produced another FA Cup shock to extend Tottenham's long wait for silverware with a 1-0 win after extra time at the Riverside on Tuesday. Middlesbrough knocked out Manchester United at Old Trafford in the 4th round, and the Championship side were worthy winners to condemn Spurs to another trophyless season. Spurs manager Antonio Conte only took charge in November, but has already hinted he could walk away after a run of 4 defeats in the past 6 Premier League games. We have to give our best for the rest of the season, then we will see what is our position and the evaluation of our season. It is too early to say something about this, said Antonio Conte. Teenager Josh Coburn came off the bench to score the only goal with a thumping finish across Hugo Lloris in the 107th minute. Harry Kane did have the ball in the net for Tottenham in the second half, only to be flagged offside, but the England captain may also be again considering his future at the club as he waits to win his first major honour of his career. Middlesbrough were by far the brighter side in extra time and got their reward when Coburn rifled across Lloris from Crooks through ball. Reporting for Sport from the UK for ENI, I am Keith Dimabuyu, and we live in interesting times.
Thank you for the sports update, Keith. Now, for our view from our window today, we take you to Madrid's Royal Palace. Built in the 18th century, the Royal Palace of Madrid is the official residence of the King of Spain. Although it is not where the king's family lives, it is still in regular use for official royal events. The Royal Palace boasts over 3,000 rooms with a large staircase called the Escalera Principal. The architectural style is characterized by its Baroque and Rococo details. The Royal Palace is open to the public and can be visited almost every day throughout the year. Today's view is courtesy of Jessica Kalau. Thank you for this nice view, Jessica. And that's it for today's program. Stay safe and keep positive as we bring you more stories next week from the United Kingdom and Europe. I'm Ryan Florentino, and we live in interesting times.